Okay. All righty then. 2:02, we can call the meeting to order and start with roll call. Chris.
Here.
Me, I'm here. Matt Stevens. Lynn is here. Tina. Don't see Tina there. I don't see Tina here, so. And Cosette does have a scheduling conflict, so we'll be discussing different times for that here at some point during the meeting to see if we can work something out that fits her schedule as well. And let's see, Lisa.
Yep, that's me.
Hello, hello. Michaela.
Here.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Okay, and on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Still don't have the flag. All righty. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And before we get to the approval of the agenda, did you mention swapping 10 and 11 would be a good idea for this meeting on the
Yes,
agenda?
yes, thank you. I was suggesting that item 10 and item 11, that the location on the agenda be flopped so that we can discuss the wraps under the downtown funds and then follow it with an action item if the commission wants to vote on expenditure. So that would be a proposed modification to today's agenda to move action items to 11 and move workshop up to number 10.
Do we have a motion to make that modification?
It was Lisa made the motion.
Lisa, do we have a second?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry.
okay.
I was actually just looking for your updated information here. So that wasn't me.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Chris.
I'll second it.
Lynn, second. All right, so workshops will become item 10 and action items will become item 11 on the agenda. Okay, on to approval of the minutes, which are attached to the agenda as well. We have a motion to approve those minutes. Last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay, motion by Lynn. I will second. For the approval of minutes from the January 10th meeting.
Do we have to approve the modified agenda?
Or, do we vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Actually hitting the brakes and backing up a step. Can we get votes in favor of approving the modified agenda? Sorry about that. Thanks for catching that.
No.
Okay. Lisa?
Aye.
Can't quite. Okay, cool, cool. It's a unanimous approval of the agenda. Then back down to approval of minutes. That's something we vote on.
We already voted
Okay,
on it,
yep.
so we're good.
And public comments.
We have no members of the public.
Okay. No presentations, no public hearings. So on to workshops, the downtown revitalization funds, conversation continued.
Well, thank you very much. There were several items that were identified for follow-up for today. And one of those had to specifically do with what were costs associated with the WRAP program for light cabinets. I was able to connect with Melissa Huggins with Spokane Arts, and I'm looking at my phone because my computer is over being repaired right now. So let's see, it said that the ballpark was that it was roughly $1,000 for a vendor to print and install the wraps onto a box, which includes the anti-graffiti coating that was asked about last meeting. And Spokane Arts is providing an additional $400 to $500 for the artist stipend for the design.
Wow.
She indicated that the expense part actually is in the time required in order to administer the program. So that included creating, posting, and promoting a call for designs, which included the software that would be used to take in those designs. Time spent fielding questions from applicants / artists. They indicated that this was very time consuming on calls for artists because not everyone's familiar with how to translate visual art into a high resolution printable file that's needed to do printed large format work for the wraps. That it has essentially really required somebody who is trained in graphic design to assist with this, and that they just have a lot of questions coming in with regards to that. They didn't think that it was too much of a task for the level that we're doing it, which is basically one wrap versus Spokane Arts recently sent out a solicitation for City of Spokane and City of Spokane Valley. So they're doing something like 15, 16 cabinets rather than just a single wrap. Let's see. Yeah, they did their most recent one and they had 160 submissions for only 12 boxes between the City of the Valley and the City of Spokane. So that's approximately the cost, and a footnote that essentially making sure that we have the software and the capability of translating artist work into this high resolution printable format that would be needed for the wrap. Are there any questions on that short summary from Spokane Arts about their wrap program?
I personally have that capability in that software, so if that helps.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Any other questions or comments about a wrap for the downtown? Just a recollection, we're only talking about one cabinet, essentially over at Lawson and US 2. Or is it Lindstrom? It's
I believe
it's Lawson, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then moving on, the other items for follow-up had to do with reaching out about the RAMP program. So that included contacting the school district and the Sunset Elementary with regards to running a opportunity or a call for ideas for the RAPs. Just to kind of follow up on that same topic.
Yep. And I did make contact with the principal, and they deferred to the school district. So I got a hold of them. The best way to do it is to develop a sort of draft and take it to a school board meeting, and present it to them, for discussion. Basically is the formal way to do it. And so if we, can kind of develop a written kind of draft with as many specifics as possible. We include as many specifics, it just gives them a better idea of what we're asking for, so. So yeah, that's I'd have to look on their site. I don't know exactly when the school board meeting would be, but I think they hold them bi-weekly. Have to double check that. It's either monthly or bi-weekly, but
Do we know the accurate dimensions of that box in order to put together a draft?
No, we'd have to get that information as part of a description of the proposal.
that's a great question. What would be a timeline on getting those measured possibly, or,
Oh, I would say we probably can get the dimensions in less than a week.
okay,
I have submitted and they approved a box downtown, and when I did it, they had it just a basic blank template that you basically color inside the lines is how it works. It worked for me. So once we get those accurate dimensions, I'm sure it'd be really easy to do a mock-up of what we're looking for.
I'm sure that the cabinet is a standard size, so it's a possibility once we get a rough idea that there might already be a template that Spokane Arts has for it that we could just utilize.
That'd be great.
So the school board's every other Wednesday.
every other Wednesday, yeah.
So if the Arts Commission wanted to pursue going out for a school submission, would there be a theme or an idea or some kind of principle that you'd like to put out for writing that description of the project? I think that's an area we haven't really talked about.
Yeah, whether it be like a contest setting or something like that.
Well, I meant like,
too, but-
well, like a theme could be like an era,
Yeah,
or it could be nature. It could be emotion. It could be,
yeah, we definitely want it to fit the story of
Mhm.
Airway Heights, so. Theme wise, yeah, if we steer towards, yeah, some of the history, maybe. I know there'd been some discussion about like historic photos and stuff too, but I don't know how that would tie into it necessarily, but I mean, maybe an artist's take on a historic view of Airway even, but yeah, theme wise, I'm not sure, as long as it fits the story, I think, and allows for the artist's creativity as well, I think.
well, we might need to dial in the conversation though, because you mentioned artists, but if you want to solicit from the school.
Well, yeah,
Then the highest grade over the elementary school is third grade,
oh, is it?
Higher.
sixth grade,
I think six, but I'll.
sixth
check.
grade. So that would be the equivalent of 12, 13. Would that be right?
Yeah.
So that might be a fundamental recommendation of the Arts Commission is, do you want to pursue submission through Sunset Elementary and follow the process of going to the school board, or do you want to do an open artist solicitation? Either way, once you make that decision, kind of which way to go, would be maybe the theme. And I only So I wouldn't recommend pitting school kids against professional artists.
Yeah, yeah.
For a recommendation.
Are we planning to do, I guess, what Spokane Arts did and also give the artist a stipend? Because if so, I would think for this project, then we might only consider professional artists and think of something different to involve school kids in, a different project. And just, I mean, a lot of artists are suffering right now, especially off of the pandemic. So, I agree. We don't want to pit school kids against, the artists. And maybe this isn't the perfect project for kids. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I was thinking of as well is that we're adding an extra dimension, an extra level of compliance, if you will. In other words, we have to come up with some kind of a draft idea and present it to a school board kind of thing. So it's almost like we're making it more complicated than it has to be.
Yeah.
I agree that we need to kind of narrow down what we're looking for. I mean, it's a bit ambiguous right now. So, and there's certainly a lot of dimensions to Airway Heights now that are not just the history of Airway Heights, but the dynamic growth of Airway Heights that we're looking at right now too. So I don't know. I think there could be we could expand on that idea a bit further than just kind of not getting locked into maybe a particular direction or particular venue for that for those solutions, I guess. I mean, if we're gonna promote kids and education and elementary, and that Airway Heights is a growing, thriving community, or are we going to talk about the historical value of Airway Heights and how it's contributed to the inland Northwest as a whole? I'm not really sure. We might need to narrow down a little bit, like you were talking about.
Lynn and Chris, what are your thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. If this is not the right project for elementary kids, we can put a pin in that and save an idea for that next time or something like that. I think just some of the things that the whole commission has been formed around is the downtown, establishing a downtown Airway Heights. So if there is a prompt that comes to my mind, it would probably be starting with that somehow, like, I know that's a big ask, but if you can somehow capture the flavor of Airway Heights with this rap, and maybe it speaks to the history, maybe it speaks to the military, maybe it speaks to the tribe, like if you can, and it could be a historical take or a modern take, but I think going into it, my 2 cents is we should definitely keep in mind that we are still trying to establish a downtown presence of Airway Heights, whatever that could be, up to interpretation of the artist as well. So
What if we came up with a theme, like say we use a tagline for this, like "Welcome home to Airway Heights," and let an artist decide what that meant to them and how they can put that point across.
I think that's great.
Yeah. 100% love that idea.
Yeah.
Well, I would certainly say that Chris's idea around the downtown is consistent with the source of the funding. That is the goal of it, is to revitalize or establish a downtown area. So we do have some images and information today that might help a little bit with that conversation about downtown, and we can share that information now, or if you want to, kind of keep going down the path of kind of fleshing out a tagline or a theme. But we did find the images from our downtown plan that we've been utilizing for streetscape as an example, as well as Zach has found information about our community in general, because there was an idea promoted at the last meeting about we're a very diverse community. And so Zach was able to get some data around that as well.
Sure.
Do you want to talk about the streetscape a little bit?
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and pull that up. So let us know when you can see the images on your screen. So this was actually from the US2 corridor plan that was developed by Airway Heights in 2018, and it was forwarded and reused in the downtown plan we adopted in 2021. And this is essentially the core of the downtown area from Lawson to Lundstrom, with King Street being in the middle of it. And why it's so significant is that the right-of-way extends beyond the curb edge of US2 and goes all the way to the front of the buildings on both the north and the south side. So we have well over 1,000 feet of right-of-way in which to work. And we do have the funding from the Spokane Regional Transportation Council to do the engineering design for this 2 blocks. As a matter of fact, I'm getting final approval from WashDOT right now to issue the ad for an engineering firm to be selected to do the engineering and design and to do a community engagement effort around this downtown streetscape. So I'm going to just note here, we're going to put parking aside kind of as a conversation, but the goal is to implement the downtown in this US2 highway streetscape for a couple of different goals. To have a sense of arrival in the downtown by dramatically changing the streetscape in this 2-block area, and that the streetscape would bring the buildings closer as a complete concept to integrate with pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular and transit in this area. That it would include green space, obviously, that could be a vegetative canopy, other types of plantings. A multi-use path is proposed on the south side. Likely we'll have some kind of, resting spots along the way. It would ultimately alter the crossings from one side to the other of US2, and it would be bookended in that design with Lawson and Lundstrom being roundabouts. So that would function to slow traffic in this area down to a speed in which would be more desirable. It would create perception of safety in crossing because it's a real barrier. And the area along King Street would be modified to be a much more substantial pedestrian crossing. It won't facilitate left turn movements into the Yokes parking lot anymore. There's really not any need to, because it's bookended already by 2 driveways into the parking lot. So this is one artist rendering of what that could look like in the future. Do you want to go to the next image? This is an overhead view from the downtown plan, again, of kind of how that would look with the multi-use path on the south side, which in this case would be the right-hand side of the street. We have a wrong street name on there, but anyway, it's kind of showing with enhancements a little bit of what that could look like. And this is looking the other direction on the street to, kind of show more of what that space would be. The next image.
This is Wolfie's, this is Yokes, just to give you some landmarks. Yep.
This is a great compilation of images that Zach put together. So this is an up close. This is the north side, and you could just see in the middle of the image one of the historic buildings in downtown Airway Heights. So you can kind of landmark what you'd be looking at. And that shows what the current street view looks like. And then this is the south side.
Looking west.
Oh, it's the north side looking west. Okay.
That's what we got for that.
Okay. So that kind of helps set the context for what we're hoping to accomplish with the new design. We would be pursuing construction funding, which would be grant-based, starting in 2024. This is a large lift. It's probably at least a $12 million construction project. So we'll have to put together federal and state grants in order to make this into reality. But that's kind of the context we're looking at with regards to downtown revitalization and, thinking about how the Arts Commission use of these dollars might help contribute or facilitate, placemaking, what contextually could be part of the downtown as you think about a theme for this cabinet as one of the first steps.
Those are awesome images you put together. So really does give you an idea of what it could look like. Yeah.
And those images are very, very helpful to an artist. If this is what we're trying to convey, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is hopefully the future, and it looks like a park. It looks like a gorgeous parkway. So
That is the goal, is to make it a destination arrival point, because one of the biggest complaints through the community engagement activities we've done around long range planning is that people perceive Airway Heights as a pass-through community. Many people have never gone off of US 2 and driven through our residential areas, gone to our parks, or have even visited some of our businesses that are located, just a half a block away from this community. And the other thing that we've consistently heard from our public engagement activities is that people who live here and work here feel like this is a small town, and they want to keep a small town flavor as Airway Heights continues to grow. Did you want to talk about the diversity?
Diversity, yeah.
This came up earlier, I think last meeting, about the perception that Airway Heights is very diverse, and the answer is, why, yes, we are, compared to other cities in the county.
Yeah, so we had a conversation about the Asian population and highlighting that. And I like numbers, so I kind of want to go, well, what does that actually look like?
Yeah.
So I went and pulled just some basic race stats. These are from the ACS 5 years from 2021. So they are projections. They're not actual boot on the ground numbers. So it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
But as you can see, the white one here is kind of crazy, but it's fed by everything else. So Airway Heights, white, no other race, is 66%, which is significantly lower than the city of Spokane, Spokane Valley, Coeur d'Alene, and the county as a whole, which I'm covering up there, which is 85%. But you're also seeing higher percentages of American Indian and Alaska Native within Airway Heights. You're seeing higher percentages of the Asian population we discussed. There's also a prevalent Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders. That, if you break it down a little bit more, it actually goes into subcategories. And what that is a significant population of Marshall Islanders within the community. And also a really high percentage of Hispanic and other Latinos, which again is higher than any other percentage. So if you look at that, it's actually kind of staggering the amount of diversity the community has. And it's not just an Asian community. We have a higher rate of minority group for every major minority category when compared to local communities. So that was something that I wasn't expecting to see such a break there, but thought it was really interesting and thought you guys might want to look at it when considering theming and things like that.
I would think that a large part of this comes to having a military base here, right? Because I grew up in Alaska and I grew up next to 2 military bases, and we had a very diverse population within this little town that I lived in. So it's nice that we do have that base here, because it does bring in a large, like, diverse population. I mean, they're always bringing in everybody from all over the country, and just it's really nice. And I really think we can thank Fairchild for at least some of that increase, and then of course we have the tribes here, and they're amazing. And so I think we're really lucky in Spokane, considering how close we are to Spokane, that we are able to have like this better mix of people up here. And I think we should be really proud of that.
I will say, to add to that, we recently learned in 2022 that the Sunset Elementary has about 9% of its student population is specifically Pacific Islander, or their Marshallese Island
Wow.
and families. And so they've been locating here in the area, and of course their children are going to school. And so the school is responding by providing or trying to create opportunities for that culture to be expressed within the elementary school because of the number of students from that population in the area. So just to follow up on the comments about diversity of Airway Heights, and again, thinking about your themes for what you might choose for marketing or a tagline for marketing for not only in the cabinet, but as you think of other projects that would be around the downtown using this funding. And then later on today, I'll also have an update on what I found about other funding sources as well. So you got the mental juices all primed.
Yep, yep. And I just wanted to put an idea on the table real quick. It's a little bit off, but I was thinking about other ideas to include the kids in while we were sitting here. And what about a little library box or something like that that could be set up somewhere? I mean, families going to the store, walking through that potential park area and have a library box in there or something. So it's nothing to really think about too hard right now, but I just wanted to mention it before I forgot about it. So
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I love that idea because it's easy to involve kids in, and anytime
Yep.
we can promote reading, I think is a good thing to do. And I know like the little libraries themselves, there's planning, free planning, whatever words, designs, you like all over the place too.
Blueprints.
Yes,
Blueprints.
thank you. Thank you.
yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's something we can think about for the future for Sunset's involvement and stuff. So is that everything involving the workshop discussion, or did we have any other
No, we still need to dial in on
the theme? and
what
stuff? Yeah.
it sounds like at this so far that the commission is leaning toward professional artists rather than
Oh, yeah.
students for this project.
Yeah.
And then the last suggestion, I think, was Lynn's, which was potentially how would you express a theme for doing an artist's call for design? Would it be a tagline? Or could it be one of the several different themes that the commission has been discussing over the last couple of meetings? Like, is it historic? Is it the diversity of the community? Are there any bookends essentially to this call for concepts? And I would highly recommend putting some bookends on the call for concepts. Just because I think you want your time to be productive. And what I have experience in is when you send out a proposal, you then use that proposal to create your criteria for evaluating the proposal. So if you want to have criteria about what could be considered or what may be scored within that, you really definitely want to be very open with the artists about how you're going to be considering that concept. And if there's something that you want to kind of be within contextually, then I'll give you an example. So let's say that again, this is a downtown context, this is downtown revitalization. And someone submits a concept and they name it the Palouse. You know, and maybe it's an image of a combine cutting down wheat. Like, it's a submission. Your criteria, was it specific enough to help the artist be able to find a theme that follows how the Arts Commission is looking to develop this particular project? And hopefully that was a neutral enough suggestion. And I'm not, you know, my dad used to be a wheat farmer, so I'm not offending anybody who does wheat farming, but like, do you really want a box with a bunch of you know, golden waving, you know, pieces of grain on it as your concept? Or fish?
Well,
Or
could we give
wouldn't
them
it-
like, could we give them some sort of, just like you spent time here with the pictures that you provided us, talked about diversity, couldn't we do like a fact statement about what Airway Heights entails? You know, we're the home of how many Indian tribes, Fairchild Air Force Base, you know, this is our diversity, and so that they understand what what we're looking at as far as what would be a good subject to concentrate on.
And just piggybacking on that, Lynn, this is just an idea that I had, but in that fact statement, we could talk about historically Airway Heights. We could talk about the present diversity of Airway Heights, and then we can give images like you were showing of the parkway of the future of Airway Heights. You know what I'm saying? Like, so as long as it fits within those categories, bookends, and we give the artist enough prompts as far as historic photos of Airway Heights, or as far as those images and the statistics, I think with the goal of hopefully trying to establish a downtown Airway Heights like that, I feel like that's narrow enough that that an artist would be able to say, okay, I get what they're going for here. But that's just me. That's just an idea.
Well, I think you have a wealth of experience in this area, Chris, because you said you've already responded to a solicitation from the city of Spokane on a box. So it would be, I think that would be helpful of kind of how you've had an experience of guiding your thoughts and creativity around responding. And if you have been in this space before, what did you feel should have been there to help you as an artist make a recommendation?
Yeah, I think what I just said as far as the history, the current, and the future, I think would be a great prompt for an artist, and giving them access to those images. And just I filled up historical Air Force photos in the Google Drive link that you provided. So those images could be used as part of the prompt as well.
So the one thing that I would say, particularly around images, is we don't own those images. We don't even
They're
own the
public.
images.
They're public domain, the Air Force ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I was thinking of the ones that Zach showed us last week, so I misspoke. I apologize.
No worries.
That would be one thing we would want to do, even with images that we showed, is make sure that they could be available as a publicly available image, because they were provided by the consultants for those plans. So I think we own them, but I would want to make sure, just to make sure, but before we put them in a Google Drive, and the same thing for anything else we put in there. I've asked before, but they've been a little fuzzy about about giving us the originals of the image. So
The credit in the revitalization plan is to City of Airway Heights.
okay,
So assuming we own, but we can always check.
yeah, because they've never provided us the high quality
Yeah,
images. So we'll just follow up on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, definitely, we can put together a sample narrative for the Arts Commission for the next meeting that succinctly talks about the history, the current condition, the goal of trying to develop and define a downtown, what elements go into that, which includes access to the image, and then, the future with images that go there. And we can provide that out to the commission for their next meeting, if you'd like us to do that.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. And maybe we can, like Lynn was suggesting, welcome home to Airway Heights, if we can come up with a headline or a tagline like that. And then the subcategories of the different historical and future and things like that. So
Okay.
Yep.
How do you want to go about working on the tagline?
well, like, I don't know. Maybe we can all brainstorm between now and our next session and maybe write down 5 ideas of taglines. We're all pretty creative people here, so I think that might be a good place to start.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. We can put that out. Everybody's here except for Cosette and Tina, so we can email that to them as well.
I think we have to be really careful about not being too historical, not being more forward thinking and not necessarily going in our approach.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The focus does want to be looking forward and stuff. And yeah, I mean, touch on the histories because that's kind of what helped build it. But yeah, the
Yeah.
definite it should be moving forward and stuff. So
Well, we do have a standard intro to our request for proposals and qualifications that kind of gives a context of Airway Heights, because a lot of consultants don't live here in our community. So we talk about, the tribal participation, we talk about Fairchild, we talk about the airport, and the other types of uses that we have here, and the kind of the presence of US2. So we certainly can start there and
yeah.
work on the beginning of the description or narrative, and move there. So it looks like we've got 2 items to come back on for a narrative and a tagline. And I'd say that number 3 is we'll check on the images to make sure that we've put in there, to make sure that they're okay for public access. And then if the commission wants to load other images that they want to be part of that consideration, or for artists to see between now and the next meeting, would be great.
And maybe to Lisa's point, like something included in there, like honoring the past while looking to the future, like something as simple as that. Like we acknowledge our history and why we're here, and then what we're trying to do,
How large are we thinking our artist call is going to be? Are we looking just for sort of West Plains artists, or are we going to do like the whole Spokane region? I mean, I guess it depends, because if what Spokane Arts said, they got like 100 and some odd for 12 boxes, do we want to open up to like the sort of Spokane proper, or really kind of keep it focused?
I think we would probably look to you for guidance on that. It was 160 submittals. I don't know if there were multiple submittals by the same artist, or that was all individual artists. Nor do I know the extent of where their call for projects came from. I think most of from my experience when I was at the city of Spokane at the time doing these boxes, most of the artists were from the immediate area in the Spokane area. They were not from out of state or even from the west side, because I think Spokane Arts does put a focus on local artists when they do work, but I would have to follow back up with the person who's actually managing that program at Spokane Arts, and I have to look and see what her name was, because it wasn't Melissa. It is. Chantel, who I think is their in-house manager. Is the one that has been managing the solicitations for the program. So I think that'd be something for the commission to discuss. You know, we could certainly ask Spokane Arts if they can share their list, or if there's any way to winnow that list down, or if you want to request artists that have a physical address in the West Plains. What is the West Plains? You know, just kind of what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I mean, personally, like, I feel like if this is going to be our first project as an arts commission, I'd almost rather it be specifically, you know, to West Plains artists, right? Because especially if there's money involved, we want to definitely work in the community. I would suspect if we're considering, you know, Medical Lake and Cheney and Geiger Heights as part of the West Plains, with Eastern students, I think we, you know, and there are a lot of artists living here, like, I feel like we might get enough submissions just from that more localized area. But I'm not sure, you know.
Yeah, I think would foresee a pretty good outreach with the West Plains and stuff. And yeah, I don't want to, like open it up and then just get completely overwhelmed by just a wave of submissions or something. But yeah, and if we're thinking of taglines at Airway Heights and home and stuff, then yeah, I think the homey field would kind of fit better. So I would definitely lean towards the localized market as well.
I second that.
Is that a motion?
So we can work on a written description of eligibility. And we'll get that for next meeting as well.
All righty.
So let's see. So I think we went through 3 different areas to kind of follow up on this project. Were there any questions about the solicitation for a cabinet box?
Yeah, I didn't have any questions or anything.
Okay.
So does that kind of close up the?
The other item that was from the workshop last time was still talking about art market.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And yeah, we were thinking near Yokes or on the other side of one of the buildings parking lots, because it has to kind of be in that downtown area, correct? Is it right on the other side of the coffee corner, or?
Are you talking about the one that the farmer's market that there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is right.
That part.
So, right,
So if we were discussing a market type setting, that's probably our best bet for a spot. It's fitting of the,
yeah, I did hear back from her, the individuals who's planning this, she actually slipped on some ice and like broke her wrist. So I hadn't heard from her in a couple of weeks, and that's why. But she's still working on one item, so there is like a public comment period we have to go through and everything to get it approved, but once I get a full packet here, I'm waiting on one more item. What I will do is get her in touch with the commission and
Okay.
invite her to come to a meeting, and you guys can have a conversation.
okay.
Was she open to the idea of kind of piggybacking and allowing artists to come to this market as well, or?
I mean, we had really informal conversations about what would be entailed within the proposal. I didn't get the implication that she couldn't be, but I would say that I would invite her to the commission so you guys could have that conversation a little more formally, so.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Oh, just going back to the funding for the utility rep project, did that get approval, or is that a further down the road type of thing that we have to submit this entire thing to the council and then they approve it?
Well, we do have a placeholder on the agenda for today to vote on funding, because you wanted to have that available to you. Now, you could either choose to recommend a dollar figure not exceeding, X amount. But I would recommend, before forwarding that on to the council, that the commission kind of flesh out a little bit more of the details of the project. So when we move on to item number 11, you could certainly vote to spend the money, but maybe before it goes to council, wait for like the details of what it would be used and how it would be used, etc.
Sounds good.
And so do you know roughly when you'll be able to invite them in for?
I'll reach out right now.
I understand having injuries and stuff. I slipped on the ice about a month and a half ago, so
Yeah, no, she went dark for like a month and a half, but I did receive an email this morning, so I'm expecting to hear back from her sometime in the next week or so. The one item that's outstanding is she had requested this parking lot here be used to support the art festival, but I told her she needed to get written approval from Edward Jones, the owners. She reached out to them. They wanted to go to the corporate office. So we're just working through it right now.
okay.
So once I hear back from her on that, one way or the other, we'll either adjust the materials to not have it included, or we will have written approval and included, and that's at that point I'll let her know. And my plan will be to, if the timing works out, next month. I'll see if she can.
Yeah.
Long way of saying that.
Well, that works. Because anything like a market would be several months out anyway.
I believe the proposal has it starting in April.
Okay,
It would
yeah,
be April, May, June, July, and August. So once a month for 5 months. So even if it's not in April, you could still have a second chance to do it in May. So
yeah. Any other thoughts or anything on that or? Alrighty, so does that put us on to item 11 then, or?
Yes.
Okay, so item 11, action item, funding approval for utility wrap box project. And so would that be something we would want a dollar amount on, like artist stipend and stuff like that to include in all of this,
Mhm.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah, the Spokane Arts estimated it was about $1,000 for the creation and installation of a wrap, and then Spokane Arts was providing a $400 to $500 stipend for artists. So I would suggest, before you make a motion, you talk about
Yeah.
how much you'd want to spend.
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, that seems like a good starting point. $400 to $500 range for a stipend seems pretty fair to an artist. I mean, I don't know how much time is gonna go into like a wrap design or something, but I think that's a good starting point for the discussion anyhow, is to kind of gauge where Spokane Arts is and see what we all think. So.
Let me close down the.
So yeah, any thoughts on like the artist stipend or any anybody have ideas on a value we want to put on that for this project?
If I'll say $500, that feels very generous to the artist, so.
That was my thoughts too.
Yep, I
Nice.
agree. I think it should be $500 stipend for the artist for this.
All right, and so with the estimate of $1,000, how close do you feel like that would be to, because if we want to put a value, we want to cover it. So that would be 1,000, 1,500. And that seems like a pretty good ballpark price to where we've been discussing it thus far, was as far as I remembered. So so yeah, any thoughts on moving this forward to
And like I said, I'll definitely help with the finalization as far as if there are any file format issues or anything like that, being able to get the printer the correct file format, so.
awesome.
Do we know if there's any taxes or fees associated with the
Oof.
cost from Spokane Arts that we may need to consider?
Not with a stipend, but with the install, we pay basically tax
Okay,
on any service or product.
Okay. So is that $1,000 tax inclusive?
I imagine it was, because
Okay.
that same information was on their website, which we went over at the last meeting. It was about $1,000 from,
Okay.
and those last installations were 2021
Okay.
that Spokane Arts did. So if you're concerned about escalation of costs or something like that, you could suggest a little bit over the $1,000.
Yeah, that's, I don't want to just ask for specifically 15 and then have it go over that by like $300 or something. So,
Well, this recommendation of be forwarded with your full package, and so you have the opportunity to have on another meeting if you feel like it needs to be increased, but you could do a motion of, $1,000 for installation, $500 for artists not to exceed X amount, in case installation costs are greater than, as provided by Spokane Arts, something like that as a motion.
okay.
I'll make the motion that we all spend $1,000 on the production of that, and also 500 for the artist, and then we'll just put that in as, our ballpark for now, for approvals here. And then if it changes by the time we put the package together, we can take another vote.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
I second that.
And all in favor of $1,000 for the estimate, 500 for the stipend, and possible modifications if need be for price increases or anything. All in favor of that? Or wait, I'm not a voting member, right?
Yeah, you are. You can
Oh,
vote.
okay.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Great.
Cool.
Well, congratulations. You have your first project almost scoped out. You got your money set up and lined out.
Cool. And then moving on to item 12, commissioner reports. Does anybody have anything they'd like to report or anything, or? And staff reports.
I would recommend having a discussion for the meeting schedule. We touched. on it a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit.
I was gonna do that with the
Okay. you
next
got it.
meeting thing is right under there. So, yep.
Okay, other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, and now, yeah, with the next meeting line being up next, Cosette has reached out saying that this schedule does not work with her teaching schedule. And do you have the time she is available so we can kind of recompare? And my schedule has changed a little bit over the past month too, so we'll kind of weigh things out and move forward, because I know we had slated them for the first Tuesdays at 2:00, but with Cosette needing a little modification, I think it's definitely a good time to bring it back to the table. So
Yeah, so Cosette is teaching Tuesday, Thursday, 1 to 3:30. And then she's also teaching Monday through Friday, 10:30 to 12:30.
so that kind of pushes us a little further back into the afternoon, it sounds like. Tuesdays and Thursdays, she's not really available at this time period.
How about
Huh?
a Wednesday? How about a Wednesday or a Monday?
I know Mondays are tough because of city council meetings.
Okay, well then Wednesday.
Well, but
Well, city council's not until 5:30, so if we do it earlier, that's okay.
okay. And she is available a little bit earlier on Mondays, or
From what she
after
says. as long as
after
it's-
12:30.
Yeah, after 12:30.
So do Mondays or Wednesdays work best for each of you?
Yeah, either day works for me.
I'm fine with that.
I
Okay.
usually, when we're testing students, it's often on Mondays and Fridays all day. But that only happens a couple of times a year. So I don't know. My schedule changes literally every week, so we should probably ignore my schedule and worry about fitting it around other people's schedules. So
Okay, fair enough. So could we do early afternoons on Mondays then? Say about the same 2:00 time frame, or? Yep, 2 thumbs up.
So you wanted the first Monday of every month.
I would think so. Do we still want to meet on a monthly basis, especially since I feel like we're really getting things rolling now and stuff. If we keep it to monthly, we could do first Mondays and
So the first of the month it'd probably be easier for me if it was the second Monday of the month.
cool.
Just,
I-
it's also hard at the first of the month too, because like for a lot of people, just a lot's going on those first couple of
Yeah.
days, just as a life thing. So we might just might be easier if it's like a second Monday.
Okay. And does that work well with all the schedules, like?
I might have a
City-
conflict, but I won't know until I find out more about an ongoing meeting, but I would say go ahead and if that works best for the commission. To do that.
Okay. Okay, and is this something we want to motion in a second on, or just kind of tentatively put it in place and,
What do you think on that?
Yeah, you need to vote officially on what your official meeting date and time is gonna be.
okay, do we want to verify that will work with Cosette or? Because I hate making a decision without having two people here as well.
Well, what we could do is set the next meeting for the second Monday of next month.
And
then
then
when she's
vote on the
here,
official
yeah,
schedule. Does that work for everybody? That way everybody's included and stuff, so. Cool.
March 13th.
And same time at 2 p.m., correct?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, you just need to vote to have your next meeting on the 13th at 2 p.m. rather than what you voted on last time, which was a Tuesday.
Yep. All right, I will make a motion that we have our next meeting on the second Monday in March, which is March 13th at 2 p.m.
That'd be
Second that.
something-
Okay. Somebody else would have to make them, okay. Okay, somebody else has to make the motion, I guess.
I'll make the motion that we should have our next meeting on March 13th at 2 p.m.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. All right,
Take a vote.
perfect. And do we, all in favor of that meeting time at March 13th at 2 o'clock?
Aye.
All righty, that's unanimous. And we can call this meeting adjourned at 3:10 p.m.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Awesome discussion today. Awesome stuff happening, so.
See you next month.
See ya.
Thank you.